Hello everyone and welcome back to the Gentle Dog Trainers channel. I'm your host Olivia De Santos, and today we are talking about how to care for an elderly dog, and I'm joined here by my 14-year-old dog Blue. She was my very first dog and she is getting on now. She's a bit of an old girl, bit of an old fuddy-duddy, and we are going to talk about how we've had to adapt our care to her needs as she has aged. So before we dive into the topic, if you'd like to learn more about how to raise happy, healthy and well-behaved dogs, then please do subscribe to the Gentle Dog Trainers channel. We post new videos all about dog care, the beginning of puppyhood right to the end of life. So without further ado, let's talk about elderly dogs. So Blue is 14 years old, but considering that she is a flat-coated retriever, that is actually quite an old age for a retriever. And as an old dog, Blue has very different care needs than when she was a puppy. So let's first talk about the big elephant in the room when it comes to older dogs, and that is medical care. It's really important that your dog has frequent checks with the vet, particularly when it comes to blood work, as these will show the earliest signs of any sort of ailments that are really common to older dogs. Common ailments for older dogs are definitely mobility issues, so arthritis. You'll also find high incidences of cancer, heart diseases, and cognitive canine dysfunction syndrome, which we will get into a little later in the video. So it's really important that your dog does get checked quite frequently as they get older, just so that you can spot any sort of issues really ahead of time. The next thing to think about is nutrition. So your dog's nutrition will change depending on their age for sure. So if you can get dog food that is specifically made for older dogs, you might find that that food will include additives that will support their healthy joints. You can also use supplementation like green-lipped mussel powder, which is really good for arthritis. Doesn't agree with Blue's stomach, unfortunately, but it might work for your dog. We do have an article about this on the Gentle Dog Trainers blog, so please do check the link below for that. You also have fish oil, which can help with keeping joints supple and helping ease with arthritis. It is still important to exercise your dog, even if they're not very mobile like Blue is. So the reason that we're in quite an ugly spot in the home is because this is where Blue has decided to rest, and I don't really want her to move around like too much all over the house just for a video. And when you get to this stage where your dog is in quite a lot of pain with their arthritis and they aren't able to move around a ton, you might be tempted not to exercise them. But the truth is that all dogs need exercise, including elderly dogs. And Blue will have good days and she will have bad days. She'll have days where she can go on quite a nice walk, quite a lengthy walk around the local block, and there's some days that she can only go to the end of the road and back. It really depends on your dog and how they're feeling at the time. So, you know, really take in your dog's needs, but make sure that you are still taking them out for walks, that they are still being exercised in some way. The next thing to think about is bedding. So it's really important that you invest in really solid bedding. Good orthopedic beds are great for elderly dogs because it really supports their joints, and you'll notice that dogs will just lie down more often. They will need to rest a lot more often than they used to. So just make sure that they have a really soft and supportive place to land. We do have an article all about orthopedic dog beds, so please do check that out in the links down below. Another thing to think about is making changes to the environment. So some resources online will tell you that you need to make some changes to the environment to make it easier for your dog. But I think it really depends on your dog. So in our case, Blue has developed cataracts. We live in a hot country, there's a lot of sun, and cataracts are just a very normal part of aging, even for humans, you could say. So she's developed cataracts, which means that if she's losing her sight, or if and when she loses her sight, it's really important that she knows where everything is. So it's actually a bad idea to change your environment dramatically, because she needs to know where everything is. The way that she's probably getting around a lot around the house is just her memory of where everything is. Her sight isn't completely gone, she can still see, but she is using a lot of memory to navigate, and so you don't want to confuse your dog if they are losing their sight and change their environment completely. But for example, if your dog is having mobility issues and you have a lot of stairs and things, and maybe the dog's original resting place was upstairs, now you might want to change it to a little cubby that is downstairs, and make sure that they have a really restful place that's all on one level and it's just easier for them to get around. Finally, to wrap up this video, I want to talk to you about canine cognitive dysfunction syndrome. And this is also known as doggy Alzheimer's, or doggy dementia. It's just a type of losing your cognitive function, your dog losing their cognitive function, and it can result in a lot of confusion. It can result in a lot of whimpering at night in particular, so night terrors. They'll wake up in the middle of the night and whimper or fuss or bark quite a lot. They might forget things, they become a bit more forgetful with people and places and things like that. Some owners find really dramatic behavior changes. Blue does have a little bit of CCDS. She particularly has night terrors, and she'll wake up in the middle of the night and whimper and bark and things. But generally speaking, she is still quite switched on. She remembers people, she remembers faces, she's still her former self. She is still that gentle personality hasn't gone away. But you might find that is something that happens to your dog. And if this happens to your dog, the best thing you can do is just be as compassionate as possible. Obviously, it helps to learn how to soothe an anxious dog, because that's the biggest kind of telltale sign that your dog has CCDS, is that they're just confused. And so when they get confused, they can get really anxious. And in the next video, I will be talking about how to calm an anxious dog. So join me here with Blue to talk about how to calm an anxious dog. And if you liked this video, you will really like this one. I've been Olivia DeSantos for the Gentle Dog Trainers channel. This has been Blue, and I will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.